Welcome back to the Neurospiritual Awakening podcast with Dr. Val. I am your host, and I'm super thrilled to introduce our next guest, who I have been waiting for a while. So I'm super thrilled. Jeanette Archer, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Val. Thank you. And it's so lovely to be here. Thank you for having me. My name is Jeanette Archer. I'm a survivor of satanic ritual abuse. I grew up inside the satanic world. And I'm also a survivor of mind control, MK Ultra. I was used as a super soldier for majority of my first 20 years of life. And yeah, I'm now in full-blown survival mode and working very hard to help others heal and come forward. I'm the founder of Psychic Healing Therapy, which I'm really proud of. So that's my mission at the moment. My sole purpose is to help others to heal and find the courage to survive.
Wow, thank you for that introduction and giving us a scope of who you are and what you're up to. And listen, let's just dive straight into it. So my first question is, what is a super soldier within that realm? Like, what is that?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually, because it takes us back to basics, doesn't it? So super soldiers are generally children, and they will be spotted very early on, very young age. So at age 3, I was handed over to Klaus Schwab. He became my handler, and I was trained then going forward for the super soldier role. Because what they do is they have seers in the cult that spot the children that are going to have these abilities. And I came with a very highly psychic ability, unfortunately for me, even though I use it for good now. But back then I was targeted heavily because of that. Also bloodline, I'm rhesus negative. So, I was targeted every which way. I had no chance really. So when they spot these children that could potentially make good super soldiers, people like myself, children like myself, are handed over to people like Klaus Schwab. Back in the day, there were many very high-ranking handlers, many names that you would recognize now. So I was regularly taken to the Tavistock Institute in London and many other places. So super soldiers, they use super soldiers for their dirty work, basically. So if you sort of fast forward till after I was fully trained, and they do the training through torture and, the most horrific methods. But once I was fully trained, I was probably a fully fledged super soldier by age 11. I was then trafficked and deployed all over the place. I used to be taken into Russia, into the United States, and, all around the world, basically. So you're either used to be an assassin or using your psychic abilities, or spying is actually very common as well. So I was often put into rooms with very, high up people, for want of a better word, to see if there was anyone in there that was, working against them. And so I got to hear a lot of inside information, which I've talked about a lot publicly as well. So hence the agendas going on in the world now. They were planning, decades ago, and I used to hear these conversations happening and so on and so forth. So really that's what a super soldier is. It is somebody, a child that is used, tortured, abused for their abilities and used to do their dirty work, whatever that may be. There's such a wide scope of what they use child soldiers for.
Yes. Thank you for elaborating on that. And of course, from a neuroscientific perspective, which is my thing, it always comes back to that fear conditioning. Like I'm a neuroscientist who's trained in fear conditioning. It's literally pairing a cue with a fearful stimulus to then train animals and people in certain behaviors, so that, and yeah, if you train them from a young age, when the brain's very readily adaptable, neuroplastic, there's so much potential, that all makes sense to me. So it's a clever, disgusting thing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, and then so then we might jump around a little bit, but then fast forward to when you were like, okay, I'm not going to be part of this anymore, and you started to speak out. So can you
Mm.
tell me a little bit more about that? Now, I appreciate you may have said it already many times, but this is my interview, so I'm going to ask you again.
I'm more than happy with that, Val. You know, new interviews and new audiences. So, you know, we're trying to educate vastly. So I'm more than happy to repeat myself. I generally always do in every interview. So it's absolutely fine. So yes, I decided to speak publicly, kind of all by accident, really. But I knew I got to a point, I'd actually just done like 20 years of healing. I just shut myself away. So after I got out of the cult around 21, 22, I don't know the exact age, I went into complete amnesia, blocked everything out, didn't remember anything, started having sort of breakdown after breakdown. You know, I remember being taken to what was then the Hospital for Nervous Diseases in London. And they wanted to make me an inpatient. And I was like, no, please. I couldn't bear the thought of staying there for obvious reasons, and other institutions. So anyway, they allowed me to be an outpatient. But actually, I did have, fortunately, some really kind experiences there. And I remember this one doctor, whatever he was, sitting with me one day and saying, Jeanette, what on earth happened to you? What happened to you that, you know, because I was so ill, you know, I used to lose like the use of my legs. I couldn't walk. I'd get out of bed and fall to the floor. And neurologically, you know, I was shutting down left, right and center. You know, I'd lose my speech, couldn't finish a sentence, couldn't find the words. So I was really very unwell. And I remember just saying to him, I think it's because my mum and dad got divorced when I was 10 years old. So that's what I'd convinced myself of. So I went into complete amnesia, complete denial. It was through my 20s. I was drinking, you know, smoking weed and do whatever it took to just keep everything at bay. And then at 28, there was another betrayal in my life. And now 28 was the age where I was programmed to commit suicide. So that battle kicked in and I had my suicide plan. And, you know, years later, I used to look back and go, actually, it was my suicide plan that kept me alive, ironically, because I always had that comfort of I can leave when I want. So that was like my cushion in life. You know, if I want to leave, I can go. So this happened at 28 when I was actually programmed to commit suicide as well. And it's highly likely that the person that committed the betrayal was probably part of them anyway to trigger that programming. Anyway, it was someone I loved and trusted and, you know, betrayed. So I remember sitting there and I was actually in the bath and I looked up at, you know, my spirit world, my angels and all of that. And I remember saying, okay, you need to show me. I know something's very wrong. You need to show me what it is so I can heal it, or I'm coming home. I'm leaving. And I was going to be doing that the following day. So I woke up the following day and it's like they just played a recording in front of my face of what happened to me. So they were flashbacks. So that's where it all begun for me. And then that flashback situation continued probably intensely for about 5 years. So I literally just went into as much hermit mode as possible. And I locked in for 20 years, just went into therapy. I went through every holistic thing I could find and just went at it and at it and at it. Every time there was a flashback, I'd dive in, I'd feel it, I'd release it. You know, it was pretty full on, really. So then I just got to a point where I thought, okay, it's time now, Jeanette. I always knew what my purpose was. I always knew that I was here to contribute to taking down the satanic reign on this planet. I've always known that was the purpose for this incarnation for me. And many times when I was a child and I was having near-death experiences, and I would come out of my body and I would go and sit and play, you know, with the angel children and just be a part of that world, because I was very connected there to that world, and it was so easy for me to go there. And I used to always say to the angel mummy, like, please, can I stay? Please don't make me go back. And she would always say to me, you've got to go back, Jeanette. You'll understand why one day, you know. So I've always had this information that this is what I've come to do. So I got to that point where I knew, okay, Jeanette, it's time. And I just started to do a little bit, I think it was on Twitter or something like that. And I'd set up a Facebook page, and I was just starting to dabble, because I wasn't on social media. You know, I was isolated in a way, but voluntarily. So a lady contacted me and she said, oh, you need to do an interview with this first person that I did it with. So I said, okay. And I contacted him, and it just all went from there. So that was my first public interview. Had no idea what was going to happen. I was clueless, you know, going into the public domain was so alien to me. And I was just launched, because this guy had a big following, and I didn't realize really. And then I did another one, because he was like, oh, you've got to go and do an interview with him now. And I did that. You know, I was just kind of blindly going along, trusting the process, and seeing where it led. So, and then I did another interview with a guy that had an even bigger platform, you know, and that was it. There was no return for me then, you know. And then my story went around the world and had an international following, and I had to just like really wise up and go, okay, I've got to work this out. How do I manage this, handle it? So that's where it all started, really.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. When the stars align, for the lack of a better expression, something just happens, doesn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. When it's meant to be, there'll be nothing in your way.
Hey, hey. Oh, you know, it makes me question the 28-year-old thing, the suicide programming. Is this why a lot of, you know, famous artists and stuff pass away at 28 because of that programming? Because I was thinking it's like you're sad in return. Everybody wants to cop themselves at that stage, but you know, but from what you said, and I know I'm generalizing, that's not true that everybody wants to cop them, but you know, that it's a hard time, the 28-year time zone.
You're absolutely right, Val. It's a thing. It's exactly what they do. So many celebrities and, you know, famous people commit suicide at 28 because they're programmed to, because they've grown up in the cult. And so it's actually a thing in the cult. 28 is the age that they program people to commit suicide. Yes.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I'm curious about that, but maybe for another time. It's just a curious time point for me. I just had an astro reading earlier today, so now I'm all in the I'm all in that the
Yeah.
realm of astrology, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the satanic reign of planet Earth. Can you just elaborate for the listeners a little bit more on that? Because the world's seeing a bit of that come through now, and you know, and we'll be seeing more and more. So let's just touch on that.
So clearly there is a satanic reign on planet Earth. I teach a lot of this in workshops, because what people don't understand is there's contracts as well. So there's contracts between the Satanist on planet Earth, the human Satanist, and, for example, the reptilians. So that was a contract made that the reptilians would help this reign of Satanism on planet Earth. And I'm sorry, I'm just speaking in very basic terminology, because I'm aware that some people won't have a clue about any of this. So I'm trying to help across the spectrum of people to understand. So they made a contract with the reptilians that, for example, if they came and helped, so the reptilians can shapeshift into human form, hence a lot of our royals, politicians and so on are reptilian shapeshifters, that they would have a continued supply of human meat. because reptilians eat human meat. So my experiences of that, for example, I spent a lot of time underground in tunnels, big tunnel systems, which people also underestimate. They're not just mud tunnels, you know, they're actual cities, so to speak. Now, there's a huge reptilian colonies. And when you go into their sections, you will see, like, embedded into the wall, like storage cupboards, so to speak, but vast, and it's full of human meat. So
Oh, yes.
human
Oh,
bodies.
yes. No, I had a dream. I went there in my astral once, and I was like, what
Mm.
the fuck is this place? But it's what you're describing. I was just like,
Wow.
it was like it was like a meat house, but for humans, and it was underground. I was just like, ew. But
Yeah, wow.
it's what you just
Went
said.
there.
I just had the connection. I literally had a dream, and I was there. I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? This place is horrible. But
Yeah,
it's what
it's
you're
horrible.
saying.
It's unbearable. So they have a contract with the human Satanists to have a supply of human meat for as long as they want it. So this is the deal, you know. So um, the satanic reign from the human Satanists on planet Earth, you know, is so woven into our society now, you know, and those people that have no clue about, you know, which part of the matrix they're in, for example, you know, the real sleepers amongst us, they are so completely mind controlled through their TV sets and, you know, the news and anything they listen to, you know, the brainwashing and everything. It's on mass scale. And actually, ironically, it's the people like myself that were literally brainwashed through torture and programmed and everything that have broken free of that to do the exposure. So exposing the satanic reign is actually all we need do. But it needed to take survivors like myself to survive, stay here, endure, come through the other side to be able to expose it. So that exposure is actually everything it will take to bring down the satanic reign. But it's infiltrated through everywhere, you know, every country, every institution, you know, whether it's child services, social services, schools, universities, our judiciary systems, the police, our emergency services, you know, there's nowhere that's not infiltrated by them.
Yes, it's not nowhere is immune. Is no
No.
one's immune is what I'm gathering.
Hmm.
Um, okay, and of course when um we're saying it's infiltrated, it's not like everyone that's in the police force is a reptilian. It's just, there's just like myself. Yeah, I'm a neuroscientist, and I've had a lot of education through the educational system, like
Yeah.
gosh, a
Yeah.
lot, right? And then you go in there and you're like, hmm. Well, at least from my experience, I was like, something's majorly off. This with
Wow. Okay.
something's wrong here.
Yeah.
What's going on, right? And then you're like, you go through. Well, I went through an awakening where I was like, well, I'm not doing this. Like, what's the point of doing this? This is just bullshit, right? It's forwarding something that I'm not into, and for the lack of
Hmm.
a better expression. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of people that want to do good things, contribute, make a difference, and wind up in the police force or in the
Yeah.
lab. And, next minute, everyone's getting vaccinated. Like, fuck. Yeah.
Indeed. No, absolutely. There are good people in these services. Of course there are, you know.
Yeah.
They're being played, they're being controlled, they're dogs' bodies they'll have no clue who their bosses are, unfortunately. But of course, not everybody in all these institutions will be a Satanist, you know,
Yeah.
or a reptilian. But when you get to the higher levels, absolutely that's where you'll find them. And that's where the control will be, you know. So
Yeah.
um the lower levels, they're dogs' bodies, you know,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
good
And
intentions.
mm, and what do they want? Like, what is essentially the schema here? What do these reptilians and Satanists like? What do they want? from?
That's a great question, actually, because this is what people fear in a way the most, and I think puts people into more of that freeze state where they're scared to tackle it. But when you actually realize that exactly what they're aiming for starters, which I'll get to, but also that they're not going to succeed because they're not, then, you know, they don't win this war. They're throwing everything at it, and it's going to get even more messy. But, you know, they don't win this war in any way, shape or form. We claim back planet Earth. But in the meantime, to know what their target is really useful, you know. So the ultimate goal that they want is to have full control of the planet, to commit a certain level of genocide, because for their liking, we're overpopulated. So that really then inhibits their means to control the planet. So they're trying to commit a genocide, but not a full genocide. Hence these, you know, scamdemics and all the rubbish that they're doing, and, you know, all of that. So, and obviously the vaccinations. And so they're trying to rid the planet of a vast part of the population, but have enough left so they have slaves. They have enough children being born for what they use children for, and to supply the cannibalism, because there's satanic human Satanists that are cannibals. So it's basically they want enough humans left to provide what they want to provide for their lifestyle. The rest they want gone.
Mm-hmm.
That's their ultimate goal.
Oh, wow. I mean, okay. It's pretty selfish, I would say.
You could
Sorry.
call it that now, yeah. That's fantastic.
It's pretty selfish. But I'm sorry. I'm terrible. I'm terrible. Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, thank you for that's it's good to know, and I'm sure that the listeners will appreciate it. And well, okay, and that's not happening from what you said. So that's not happening. So what is happening? And in my understanding, the war's been like, again, time is such a funny thing, the way that the human brain perceives time, right? In a linear fashion, just so that it makes sense to us, whereas it's not. It's all kind of happening at once from my other understanding of what time is. But so we're not going there. We're not going to this place that we've just discussed. Something else is happening, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So spiritually, yeah, there's no time, does not exist. And time is man-made, of course it is. However, we are living in a human existence. We're in human bodies. So this is where, and I'm just going to side note a little bit here, people have to be a little bit cautious about the whole New Age love and light movement, because that was also set up by them, by the way, to enable people to think, well, as long as we are spiritual and, you know, sorry about the voice, but it pisses me off so much. You know, we're all love and light and we don't have any anger and all our emotions are kept down and, you know, all of that rubbish. And we light our candles every night and we do our meditation every morning. We'll be fine. But that just isn't the case, because we are living in human bodies. We are humans living this human existence. So spiritually above us, in the what I call the divine, where the angels and guides and all the loveliness is, they absolutely know we win this war. Up there, it's written, it's done, they're just waiting for it to play out. As humans here on the earth plane, it's our job to manifest that, to make that happen. So the secret to that, the key to that is so simple. It's exposure. So if you imagine every time a survivor or someone like yourself, Val, that fully awake, fully knows the truth of the world and all of that, anybody speaks the truth, regardless of how it lands, regardless of who hears it, regardless of if it gets rejected or mocked or whatever, every time the truth comes out of your mouth, that truth is light. Now, the truth, people think that it's love, but truth is actually the most powerful energy on the planet. So every time you speak truth, you create light. That light is like, if you have light and their darkness, their satanic dark energy in equal amounts, that light is like 1,000 times more powerful. So every time someone's exposing them and speaking the truth, that light is destroying the darkness. Now that's the energetics. That literally breaks them down. And every time they're exposed, they lose power. Because the only reason satanic ritual abuse exists is because of the silence wrapped around it. They never counted on people like me exposing them and speaking out. They first thought I would kill myself at 28, and they tortured me for so many hours, I couldn't even tell you, to make sure I never spoke a word. So when survivors actually do start breaking the silence, that starts to take away their power. They count on the silence. There's an incredible man that's incarcerated wrongly, Wilfred Wong, and his saying is, exposure is their greatest fear and silence is their strongest weapon, which I just love. And I use that all the time because it literally sums it up. So to stop it, we have to keep exposing it. Now that train has left the station, it's hurtling down the tracks. Exposure's happened. Even if I or any other survivors never spoke again, it's done. It's happening. Exposure is reaching every corner of the world now. So many people are finding the courage to speak, survivors, non-survivors, and so on. So that's happening. It just needs to keep on gaining momentum, The silence gets broken. Eventually, they have nowhere left to hide. So if you imagine if every survivor on this planet spoke the truth and broke silence, they'd have nowhere left to go. They count on the silence to keep themselves being supplied with victims. Everything would organically heal if that happened. So we're on that trajectory, we're on that pathway. So the exposure will get to the point where even those that can't face the truth of what's going on, and they're like, oh, I can't bear to hear it. I'm like, well, okay, think about the children that are actually enduring it. But even those people will not be able to hide from it because it's going to be right there blatant for everyone to see. Yes. Wow.
Sorry. Yeah, keep going. I was going to say something, but anyway, you talk.
No, go on, please.
Well, I'm always listening to everything through this filter of neuroscience and then epigenetics, which the neuroscience is like the capacity of our brain to rewire itself, right? Is no matter how implanted or ingrained certain conditioning, beliefs, or programs are, our brain has the capacity to rewire that and go from silence to speaking, going from being in the cult to stepping outside of that to doing the healing. Like it's very inspiring, and we do have it's in our biology, it's in our design to be able to do that. And then with the epigenetics, right? Our environment is what literally impacts how our DNA expresses itself, which then turns into 3D, like actual things. So when, as you say, we're in an environment where there's so much speaking of truth, you've spoken to the energetics of it, but I'm just literally talking to the biology of it for myself and my listeners, because I'm a nerd. I can see how inside of that environment, everything changes at the level of our DNA and beyond, and above, below, everywhere.
Yeah, I love that, Val, because that is the human side. That's the biology. So, yes, everyone has the potential to rewire. Unfortunately, not everyone can. And this is why not everyone survives a childhood in SRA. Not everyone can recovers, because they do put in literally hours and hours and hours. I mean, I don't think a week would have gone past where I wasn't tortured to keep my silence, because I was also a child victim of very high people in this world. Um, so they had to target me even more so, and obviously the super soldier side, and I was taken off planet, so I was carrying a lot of their secrets. So
Yeah.
I was targeted enormously with torture. So it's a complete miracle that I've managed to rewire. Excuse me.
Yeah, yeah.
So because within that torture, they fracture the brain, and this is why survivors have DID and dissociation. So they fracture the brain so enormously at times. There's just no coming back from that for some people.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, what you're saying is absolutely right in the way of, there's always the potential to
Yes.
rewire. Um,
Yes.
and like you say, biologically as well, in the DNA. And once, like, for example, I love that saying of what we don't heal as adults or as parents, our children carry. And I think that's quite literal.
It
I
is.
think it's
It is
literally,
literal. I'm
it's
telling
not
you,
even
it's
just on an
true.
emotional level, it's in the DNA.
Yeah.
There were certain fears. I remember my son when he was young. No, it was my daughter when she was young. And if we'd go for a little walk and end up, in a sort of little forest or something, she was terrified to go into the forest. Now, this was when she was little. It was literally in her DNA, because I never expressed anything like that to her. I hated the forest for that reason, rituals and so on. She literally had it in her DNA.
Yeah.
My kids have shown fears that they shouldn't have. They've had no trauma around. So it's literally goes into the DNA if we don't heal it before we
Oh,
have them.
it really, really does. I mean, I teach a whole course on it for teachers and healers who want to get to the nitty-gritty of that. Literally, neuroplasticity epigenetics 101 for healers and teachers. But it is about that. It's like with the with the Holocaust, right? It's not the parents that need to seek the psychology. It's the children who never actually were in the concentration camps, but they were the ones reaching out to. I mean, it's kind of like a popular example. I know that that's not, we're not talking about the full story. It's just an example of epigenetic inheritance, but the example that you gave is absolutely the case for every single one of us. Um, yeah, and our children
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
our parents, of course, our parents.
And what's fascinating as well, even from past lives, because with my psychic healing therapy, I do a lot of healing work with people and their past life trauma that's come into this life. And
Yes.
that isn't just on a spiritual, emotional psyche, that's DNA as well. Their
Well,
past lives comes from within their DNA in this life.
it does. In fact, 99% of our DNA is what scientists refer to as junk DNA or dead DNA. And I'm like, okay, really? Like as if 99% of our DNA is just
That is
junk?
crazy.
It is. It's total BS. But the people don't know. They haven't really identified what the 99% does. And I assume it's things like what you're saying. It's our inheritance from
Past lives.
other
Yeah.
lifetimes, other like incarnations as maybe
Mhm.
as non-human beings, stuff like that. That's
Mhm.
I do believe
Mhm.
that that's where it's stored in the
Yeah.
junk region of the
It
DNA.
absolutely is. I mean, I work with people that are in equally as much trauma over a past life than the people I work with that are healing trauma in this life. I mean, there's no undermining it. And I would call anybody out that tried to do that. Oh, well, you shouldn't be suffering so much. It was a past life. Well, it's real. It's so real. The suffering from past lives that needs healing.
Yes, but and again, because the time that is a human construct and the way that it is perceived by our brain. People think like, oh, it's gone, it's woof, it's gone. And well, it's like, look at you, even you're suffering from the thing that happened in
Mm,
this incarnation now. So why not
mm.
extend it to past lives? It's just like a linear inside
Yeah.
of the linear view of time. That's still the past. That's
Mhm.
impacting who you're being now. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so I know we got a little nerdy there, so let's let me pick
I
your
love
brain.
nerdy. I can
But
do
okay,
geek all day long.
good, good. You're in the right place. We're in the right place. But let me ask you a couple more questions. So
Yeah.
why humans? Like what's so special about us? Like why not do this on some other planet?
Mm, I love that question. Let me just get that sun out of my eyes. That's fascinating, actually. I think simply because other planets, generally speaking, are a whole lot more evolved than us. So our frequency, when they arrived and took over and all the rest of it, was actually quite low. And this is where I feel so bad for, Mother Earth and Gaia and all of that, because actually the frequency of Mother Earth is outstanding. And, the healing benefits of Mother Earth and, Mother Nature. And, oh, I mean, when you can connect to that, you can really feel that beautiful energy. And, but it's not about that. It's not about the planet itself. It's about the inhabitants. So the frequency was quite low. So it was an easy target, really. It was an easy target. Plus the satanic humans were here already.
Yeah.
So they made the contracts then with, like the reptilians, like I've spoken about, they made contracts with the Greys. The Greys wanted to come and do human experimentation. They're still doing it now in exchange for their knowledge and so on and so forth. So it was an easy target. It really was. However, the good news is the frequency on planet Earth is now rising. So there will come a time when a lot of these horrific beings that are underground will come up to the surface because they won't be able to stay on the planet anymore. In fact, quite a lot of reptilians have left, but I have to be clear, a very small amount. There are still huge colonies of reptilians underground. And I have to make that point because that's where the children are and need rescuing. And, my work is all about saving the children. And there are a few people speaking publicly that haven't got a clue what they're saying, and they're doing damage by saying, oh, the reptilians have left, they've all gone. Oh my God. So they're clearly, part of the problem, and they don't want people to try and be rescuing them. So I really want to get that out there. There are colonies of reptilians still here. However, the frequency is rising, and they will get to the point where they won't be able to survive in the frequency, which is going to be another contributing factor to our, saving our planet, taking our planet back.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's amazing. And I'm just thinking, well, what then, right? So we've won the war, they're gone. Then what? And like,
That's the
what are we
fun
doing?
bit.
What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?
Well, when you think about it, everything will collapse. Their towers are coming down, so to speak. So all the institutions will fall. Now, our children's generation and the wonderful generations that's coming up, and there's a lot of special souls amongst them, they will do the rebuild. We will likely see it in our lifetime, but they will do the rebuild, and they will know exactly what to do. They've come here with their sole purpose, knowing what they've got to do. Like we came with our sole purpose, and then we discovered what we had to do. We're all playing our part. We're all a piece of the puzzle. Every single one of us that are playing the roles, like we are. So yeah, that the rebuild, that'll be the fun bit. That'll be great.
I can't. Yeah, I love the vision of that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And
we're going to
and
have to set up a lot of healing retreats and things like that for the children that will be rescued. You know, there's going to be an
absolutely.
unbelievable amount of traumatized children and orphans, and yeah, it's going to be horrific. And people will see things that, you know, will probably give them a heart attack on the spot. You know, with what's underground, the human experimentation. You know, I grew up even then, you know, and my childhood is a long time now, a long time ago now, but even back in the day, the technology they had even then, you know, I witnessed every kind of human experimentation, especially with Klaus Schwab, because that was his fascination. And I used to see, you know, animals with human heads, humans with animal bodies, you know, the most horrific things. You know, the greys were heavily into experimentation.
Oh,
um so I think a lot of people will naturally die off. I know that sounds awful for me to say, but I think a lot of people aren't going to be able to tolerate the truth. um But those of us, you know, that are left, and this beautiful generations that are following us, you know, following behind, I think they're going to do a great job.
yeah. I'm excited for that.
Mm,
Um,
me too.
and okay, so a couple more questions. So are the grays, are they all quote unquote bad?
I do get asked this because there's a bit of different information out there, I think. But let's put it this way. I was in the cult from birth to 20, 21, 22. I never, ever met a good grey, ever.
Hmm.
They were callous, evil, terrible beings.
Hmm.
And I was often dragged along by my hair to their little rooms underground and experimented on. And they have a fascination with trying to put the human consciousness into another body, like shift consciousness. They've never achieved it.
But it's
And I don't.
non-local, like it's not, that's not how it works. But
No, it's
yeah.
exactly that. It's not how it works. So, you know, they're not that bright. But they're fascinated with human experimentation. So no, I have never met a grey that was in any way nice.
Hmm. All right. That's clear. And what about the praying mantis beings?
Oh, do you know, there's so many different species underground. The praying mantis beings, yeah. I wasn't around them much, but I did see their colonies. In fact, the praying mantis beings, they are underground. They're also off planet. Um, so, I mean, what about them? To be honest, I don't really know what they were doing. When I saw them, it was more in the sort of military bases, like under the tunnels under the military bases, because that's a whole other different subject, the military bases. Um, so a lot of them were working alongside the military. Don't know what their role was. Yeah, a lot of the sort of bigger species, and especially the reptilians, you know, are very much working alongside the military.
Yes. All right. Clear. Okay, so then we're gonna wrap this up soon, but I just have all these questions now.
You ask away, I'm fine.
All right, all right. What, so when you're born with these capacities, and because a lot more children are born, and we're kind of moving into this era of we have a lot more telepathic ability. Not a lot more, but it's just like I think we're just practicing them more, and people are more attuned to them, more aware of them, and inside that environment it kind of flourishes, right? But when you're born with those capacities and you're able to speak to the angelic realms, spirit guides, and all that, how how can you be trained to do quote unquote bad things and still be in touch with the realms? Like, can't they intervene and like
Mm.
unfuck you from all of that? For
Oh, yeah, I hear you. There's two things with that I would say is, first of all, the spirit realms and all that is there are not allowed to intervene with human experience. So the thing we come with that nobody can intervene with is our free will. Now, of course, when a child's being tortured and put through hell, that's not that child's will, but it is that child's journey. My angels helped me as much as possible by helping me come out of the body and, you know, not having to endure the torture every single time, you know, and especially when I was taken to that near-death experiences and, you know, which they love to do as well. So I suppose in that respect, can I ever call myself fortunate? But I'm grateful for that. So the free will is a big deal, but also we are all on a soul purpose. None of us are here by accident. None of us. There are no coincidences. Everything we were born into, even myself included, which has been a huge for me to come to terms with. But when you choose your parents before you incarnate and you choose the country and so on and so forth, you come with purpose. So what I teach people when I'm working with them is very much about we have to heal the human existence, i.e. our suffering, our trauma, the pain that we've endured. That leads us on to then having clarity about why we had to go through that in the first place, our soul purpose. So we have to go through that to get to the other part. And that is when we then contribute to the healing of this planet. I mean, it just sounds so brutal, doesn't it? But when we all go home as souls and we're all up there and be able to go, yeah, I did what I went to do. I don't have to go back anymore. You know, there'll be a fuller understanding. I'm just fortunate in the way that I have this understanding because of my connection to them, which probably has saved my life on many occasions.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say so. Wow. Okay. I don't know if I have any more questions. I mean, anything, oh, well, I mean, I'll ask you how people can connect with you if you want to be found in that sense.
Yes, absolutely. I've been very busy because I've wanted to what I was seeing was there just wasn't the right help out there for survivors in particular, survivors of SRA. So I started to formulate what I felt was going to be something that I could offer that could help survivors to heal. And it all sort of grew from there. So I work with survivors and non-survivors, you know, trauma survivors, whatever that may be. And people that have tried for years and years and years and they can't heal, and you know they've spent forever in various therapies, and which I'm not knocking because you know I've found my own way through many various therapies which have been incredible. But what I was recognizing was where we're at on the planet now, healing this human existence and the suffering that we've endured generally through childhood, is starting to become very, very important, almost a sense of urgency behind it. So I formulated the solution of putting together all of my knowledge of like 30 odd years of healing, probably going nearer 40 now, 40 years of healing, and my psychic abilities. So that was when Psychic Healing Therapy was born. So I started to make that available for people. I got very busy. So I tried to, you know, I did courses and workshops, and because I like to educate as well, just about satanic ritual abuse. So what I had to do was really sort of, you know, get my head down, work all that out so I could expand and offer it to more people. So that's what I've managed to do now. So I do have availability if people want to work with me. So what I can do, Val, is send you the link to my website. People can just go on there. And what I suggest is always booking in for an initial psychic reading. We really get to the nitty gritty of what needs working on, what doesn't. Some people just will benefit from having one of those because it gives them the guidance they need. So because I work with my guide and my knowledge, we get right to the problem. So people don't land with me lightly. When they're ready to heal, they'll find me. And then if it's right for them, for me and for them, for us to work together, then I offer them the opportunity to do that. So this is really where it's at for me at the moment, plus the educational side. But I've taken some time out from the public side of things just to really get this rooted, and, you know, the formula working successfully, which it really is. So I'm really proud of it, really proud of it. And a lot of people are healing now. And, you know, I'm just so grateful to be in a situation where I've been able to do this with part of my soul purpose.
Absolutely. And what a gift. And I mean, I've benefited from those offerings myself. So I
Yeah.
thank you. I want to personally thank you. I mean, that was profound. I'm still going with my inner children's journal, that same one. It's
Oh my
somewhere in
gosh,
here.
I love that you're doing that. That's
I think
amazing.
wait, where is it? Oh, I have to do it. There it is. I have to do it.
Oh wow. Oh my gosh, I
And I've
love
been
that.
It's like I've been going for 2 years, mostly every day. Sometimes I skip a day and then I have to,
Yeah.
make up for it the next day.
So
So
you've been doing that since the course because you did my
yeah,
course, didn't you?
yeah.
Yeah.
That
Oh
was
my gosh, I
almost
love that.
definitely a year and a half ago, but
Mm.
yeah, maybe more. So I've been going and it's made a
Well
profound difference.
done.
Oh, it's
You
it's
know,
life
when people
altering.
can realize that connecting there to the inner child, children, for a lot of us survivors, there's many parts there. Um, the healing that comes from that is just profound.
Yeah. No, I mean, but
Just
also the kind of mom that I can be for my kids is like incredible because of that work. My goodness.
yeah.
It's priceless. I'm so, so grateful. So I want to publicly acknowledge you. So thank you. My
Oh,
goodness.
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, thank you. Just thanks from the bottom of my heart for being here and your first interview in a while. I do appreciate you taking the time to speak with us and educating us and letting us into your world. Yeah.
Thank you, Val. It's been absolutely lovely. First interview back in a while, and this has been perfect. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thanks to the listeners for listening. I'll pop all the details in the notes below. As always, spread the word. You never know whose life you'll make a difference to.